So a very good morning, ladies and gentlemen from India. Let me extend a warm welcome to all of you to the 7th edition of India Smart Utility Week, ISUW 2021, an international conference and exhibition on smart utilities for smart cities. ISUW 2021 is powered by Amazon Web Services. Now, I'd like to begin by saying that COVID-19 crisis brought the spotlight on the importance of reliable and uninterrupted power supply. Nothing works without electricity, and no meaningful task could be accomplished without reliable communication networks, which also require electricity to function. And ladies and gentlemen, that's why the importance of electricity. Reliable communication networks also require electricity. It will not be an exaggeration to call electricity the lifeline of the society during the crippling onslaught of this pandemic. Many, many years ago, let me quote Nikola Tesla, who once said that the day when we shall know exactly what electricity is will chronicle an event probably greater, more important than any other recorded in the history of the human race. The time will come when the comfort, the very existence, perhaps, of man will depend upon that wonderful agent. These words resonate in our minds like a prophecy in the present times. The might of electricity has indeed been understood by the entire humankind, and the way we work and live has dramatically changed in a short span of time. Now, despite the adversities, COVID-19 has also opened the floodgates of innovation and transformation with profound implications that are gainful in the long term. Digitalization in utilities have been advanced by several years in utilities across the globe. The level of automation and digitalization that would have taken another decade in power utilities would now happen in the next 2-3 years, and this movement towards digitalization is now irreversible. India Smart Grid Forum has been organizing its flagship annual event, India Smart Utility Week, since 2015, and it is considered as one of the top 5 international events on smart grids and smart cities. This 7th edition of ISUW will bring together India's leading electricity, gas, and water utilities, policymakers, regulators, investors, and world's top-notch smart energy experts and researchers to discuss and address all the challenges, trends, share best practices, and showcase next generation technologies, products, and opportunities in smart energy and smart cities domains. ISUW 2021, ladies and gentlemen, is supported by many ministries of the Government of India, including Ministry of Power, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Ministry of Jal Shakti, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, Department of Science and Technology, and Niti Aayog. Now, I think we must begin with the day. We have in our midst the gracious presence of very eminent dignitaries. We have in our midst Director General, International Solar Alliance, Mr. Upendra Tripathi. Warm welcome, sir. Member of Parliament, Brent North, Mr. Barry Gardiner. Warm welcome, sir. Mr. Ashok Lavasa, Vice President, Asian Development Bank. A very warm welcome to you. Mr. Nicholas Dunlop, Secretary General, Climate Parliament. Warm welcome, sir. Ms. Gaudi Singh, Deputy Director General, International Renewable Energy Agency. Warm welcome, ma'am. Mr. Ugo Astuto, European Union Ambassador to India. We have with us Mr. Kesek Sadamori, Energy Markets and Security Director, International Energy Agency. Mr. Rob Stephen, former President SIGRE. Mr. Yoshiro Kaku, Chief Representative, NEDO, India. Mr. Praveer Sinha, Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director, Tata Power Company Limited. Mr. P.R. Kumar, CEO, BSES Yamuna Power Limited. Mr. Amal Sinha, CEO, BSES Rajdhani Power Limited. Mr. Debushes U. Banerjee, Managing Director, CESC, Kolkata. Mr. N. Venu, MD, CSEC, Kolkata. Mr. Ajay Kaul, India State and Local Government Leader, Amazon Web Services. Mr. Richard Schomburg, IEC Ambassador and Chairman, IEC Smart Energy Systems Committee and Vice President, EDF. And of course, from ISGF, gracing this inaugural address is Mr. Reji Kumar Pillai, President, India Smart Grid Forum, and Ms. Reena Subi, Executive Director, India Smart Grid Forum. Now, tradition in India calls for the lighting of the lamp for an auspicious beginning. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we welcome the eminent dignitaries, we will start this very significant event with the lighting of the lamp. As we begin with the lighting of the lamp, we chant the following shloka: Shubham Karoti Kalyanam Arogyam Dhana Sampada Shatru Buddhi Vinashaya Deepa Jyotir Namostute. Let's light the lamp. I'm not on mute. So as I was saying, when we chant the shloka Shubham Karoti Kalyanam Arogyam Dhan Sampada Shatru Buddhi Vinashaya Deepa Jyotir Namostute, ladies and gentlemen, we pray to the Lord of Light, we pray to Lord Ganesha, and specifically when we pray to the Lord of Light, we pray for prosperity where we are. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the eminent dignitaries gracing this inaugural session for being a part of this digital lamp lighting ceremony. And moving forward, once again, I welcome you all. And let me now request Mr. Reji Kumar Pillai, the President of India's Smart Grid Forum, to please deliver the welcome address. Mr. Pillai, over to you.
Excellencies, distinguished speakers, and experts on the dais and in the audience, government and utility officials, regulators, ISGF members, our sponsors and exhibitors, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen. I have the pleasure of welcoming you all to the 7th edition of India Smart Utility Week, which is being held on this digital platform. Let me start by offering our sincere thanks to the selfless health workers and other frontline workers who are helping keep the society functional during the ongoing pandemic. We also wish to offer our deepest gratitude to the electricity workers around the globe who kept the lights on, which kept all other systems functional. We all survived a very difficult 1 year. ISGF also went through very difficult phase, but we have done more work than in the previous years during this lockdown year. We have conducted 5 training programs in which more than 1,000 people we have trained. So earlier our training programs we used to do for 2 or 3 classroom programs, 2 days, 3 days classroom programs. This time we have taken it to 2 weeks, 3 weeks, alternate days, 2-hour program. And our faculty came from across the world, and our the trainees also came all the way from Indonesia up to Saudi Arabia. A large number of people participated, and those recorded versions are still available on our platform. People are registering every week and learning those training programs, what our experts have taught. We have also implemented 2 signature projects, a first of its kind P2P trading of solar rooftop energy in Lucknow in Uttar Pradesh, and also in Delhi. These 2 projects, first of its kind in the continent, that's and have proven that there is interest among the people, and they need not sell the rooftop energy back to the utility. They can sell among their peers using a blockchain platform. We have also completed a study on time of use tariff framework in the state of Gujarat, and that will be again implemented sometime this year on a trial basis. Many of you have attended the past editions of the event must have noticed that both the content and scale of the event have been constantly expanding. We thank all of you for your continued support, guidance in making this show bigger and better. This time we have added some new areas like electric cooking, district cooling systems, urban air mobility, some of the new areas we have touched upon, which are all going to some way or the other connected to the grid and will have profound implication to the grid in the coming years. Large number of Indian utility officials, regulators, policymakers are present here, and we are sure that they will get the opportunity to hear from our experts, although not able to meet face to face. Our exhibition hall offer the opportunity to do networking. People can even exchange their business card digitally when you meet people in the networking lounge or in the exhibition halls. That's a facility of this platform. Let me extend a warm welcome to our mentor and advisor, Mr. Richard Schomburg from EDF, who is the IEC ambassador for smart energy. He is our friend and guide who has been helping us design this conference in its structure, the themes for the past 7 years. He has richly contributed to the growth of ISUW. On behalf of ISGF, I extend a very warm welcome to you, Mr. Richard Schomburg. ISUW 2021 is powered by Amazon Web Services, and I'm pleased to welcome Mr. Ajay Kaul, India state and local governments leader at Amazon Web Services, to ISUW 2021. ABB has been ISGF founding member and a constant supporter of ISUW from the very first edition. ABB has undergone a major transformation through the merger with Hitachi to become Hitachi ABB Power Grids and emerged stronger. I am delighted to welcome Mr. N. Venu, the Managing Director of Hitachi ABB Power Grids, India and South Asia. Mr. Venu was also a member of ISGF Board of Governors till last year. Mr. Debushes Banerjee, Managing Director of CSE Kolkata, been another constant supporter of ISUW. He is presently leading digital transformation at CSE Kolkata, India's oldest power utility dating back to the 19th century. We are pleased to welcome Mr. Banerjee to ISUW 2021. BSES Rajdhani Power and BSES Yamuna Power serving Delhi are host utilities for ISUW from the 2016 edition. We are delighted to welcome Mr. Amal Sinha, CEO of BSES Rajdhani Power, and Mr. Prem Kumar, CEO of BSES Yamuna Power, to ISUW 2021. Both these companies have progressed tremendously under the leadership of Mr. Sinha and Mr. Kumar. You will witness some of those achievements at the Innovation Award ceremony on 5th March. Both BRPL and BYPL has won several awards this year. A very warm welcome to both of you, Mr. Sinha and Mr. Kumar. We are delighted to have both Tata Power and Tata Power Delhi Distribution Limited as our host utilities right from the beginning, and this year also. Mr. Praveer Sinha has been on the board of ISGF, and he has been a pillar of strength for our journey. I am pleased to extend a very warm welcome to you, Mr. Sinha, to this inaugural ceremony of ISUW 2021. Japan and NEDO very closely associated with the electricity sector modernization in India. NEDO had funded smart grid pilot project in Panipat through a grant, now exploring opportunity to implement demonstration projects on microgrids, micro substations, energy storage systems, etc. in India. NEDO has been participating in ISUW from 2015 onwards. This year also, the Innovation Awards function is sponsored by NEDO. I have the pleasure of welcoming Mr. Yoshiro Kaku, Chief Representative of NEDO in India, to ISUW 2021. Warm welcome to you, Kaku-san. Mr. Rob Stephen served 2 terms as president of SIGRE and big supporter of India and ISGF. In 2017, he personally came to attend ISUW in New Delhi. He is also one of our valued jury member for the award, ISGAN Award of Excellence for Smart Grid Projects, along with my other expert colleagues from Global Smart Energy Federation. Today, he is joining from South Africa. I have the pleasure of extending a very warm welcome to you, sir. India has entered into strategic partnership with International Energy Agency to boost energy security and freer an exchange of knowledge and expertise from the world's top energy watchdog, IEA. We have joined as an associate member in 2017. The new strategic partnership is seen as a step towards full membership in future. India is actively participating in several of IEA platforms, including ISGAN, Mission Innovation, etc. IEA is supporting India in the electricity domain. The Energy Outlook 2021 released last month projects Indian power sector to grow to 1600 plus gigawatt by 2040 from the present size of 377 gigawatt. This year we have the pleasure of having Kesuke Sadamori-san and several of his colleagues will be attending. I extend a very warm welcome to you, Sadamori-san, to the inaugural ceremony of ISUW 2021. Ms. Gaudi Singh, Deputy Director General of International Renewable Energy Agency, has graciously consented to participating in ISUW 2020. She will be making a presentation on IRENA's cutting-edge work on green hydrogen on 4th March at ISUW. We are delighted to have you with us, madam, and extend a very warm welcome to this inaugural ceremony. ISGF has been working closely with the European Union on smart grid domain and have conducted 9 editions of EU-India smart grid workshops. Many editions were held in Europe, which was fully supported by the European Commission. The 10th edition of EU-India Smart Grid Workshop will take place today and tomorrow on the sidelines of ISUW 2021. These workshops have now progressed to real smart grid demonstration projects, with the first demonstration project in TPDDL, which started in 2019, is nearing completion stage now. For the Horizon 2020 call, which was issued last year, there were 53 proposals which are under evaluation and the results are awaited. His Excellency Ambassador Ugo Astuto, the Ambassador of EU to India, attended the past editions of ISUW. A very warm welcome to you, Your Excellency Astuto, to ISUW 2021. India is an active player in climate parliament. Several of our parliament members have been participating in climate parliament activities. Last year at the event in Abu Dhabi, just before the pandemic, I had the opportunity to present the grid modernization initiatives in India at the climate parliament. One of the key takeaways from that event was electric cooking, which ISGF has been advocating for past 1 year. I am delighted to share with you all that Government of India has launched a new program, Go Electric, on 19 February 2021, which has 2 components, electric vehicles and electric cooking. We have a roundtable also on this topic tomorrow at ISUW. I am thankful to Mr. Nicholas Dunlop, Secretary General of Climate Parliament, for introducing us to this powerful idea. Mr. Dunlop has graciously agreed to join this inaugural ceremony, although it is only 6 a.m. in London. I have the pleasure of welcoming you to ISUW 2021, Mr. Dunlop. Mr. Ashok Lavasa, in his latest role, is leading private sector initiatives at Asian Development Bank. He was our Joint Secretary and Additional Secretary in Ministry of Power before moving on as Aviation Secretary and later as Finance Secretary, and later as Election Commissioner to Government of India. During his long stint in Ministry of Power, he had given leadership to some of the largest transformation programs in the Indian power sector. I have the pleasure of welcoming you, Mr. Lavasa, to ISUW 2021. Mr. Barry Gardiner needs no introduction. He served previously as Energy Minister of UK, and most recently he was Shadow Minister for Energy and International Trade. We had the privilege of hosting him at ISUW 2020 last year in New Delhi. We are honored to have Mr. Gardiner this year at ISUW. Good morning and a very warm welcome to you, sir. Mr. Ubendra Tripathi, the founding Director General of ISA, has done an excellent job making ISA a truly international organization with 100+ members. ISGF has been working closely with ISA since beginning, and we extend a very warm welcome to you, Tripathi sir. Our Honorable Minister Sri R.K. Singh is leading some of the latest initiatives in the power sector, including privatization of utilities, delicensing of distribution business to bring in competition in the sector, etc. on a fast pace. He has sent his good wishes for the event and expressed his inability to join today's program owing to his other pressing commitments. There are over 1,000 distinguished personalities and doyens from the industry, utilities, research and academia from around the world attending this event now. I extend a very warm welcome to all of you, our speakers, experts, utility CEOs, regulators, friends from the media, and our board members of ISGF and GSEF. Thank you all and wish you a very useful interaction of next 4 days. Thank you. Over to you.
Please unmute. I'm not being able to unmute myself. Thank you very much, sir, for rendering that welcome address. And with that, I'm now going to request our eminent dignitaries to kindly deliver their special addresses. Let me first take the privilege of requesting Mr. Richard Schomburg, IEC Ambassador and Chairman, IEC Smart Energy Systems Committee. Before we do that, I'm getting a message that we should all take a picture. So I would request all our eminent dignitaries to get their cameras on. And then we're going to take a group photograph of all of you. I'm going to request Mr. Richard Schomburg, Mr. Ajay Kaul, Mr. N. Venu, who's the Managing Director of Hitachi ABB Power Grids India and South Asia, Mr. Debushes Banerjee, Mr. Amal Sinha, Mr. P.R. Kumar, Mr. Praveer Sinha, Mr. Yoshiro Kaku, Mr. Rob Stephen. I request all of you to please make sure that your cameras are on, and of course the other esteemed dignitaries as well. And I'd request the tech team to make this into a grid view so that we can take a group photograph of all of us. And I'd request all of you to please smile for this group photograph. I request you to please smile for the camera.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Schomburg, although I was going to request you to speak first, but I'm going to take some time and take your permission to allow Mr. Shri Upendra Tripathi to, take a few minutes to render his special address because he has to leave for another very important appointment. So I'm going to request, is that okay, sir? Richard, sir?
Yes, please do so.
Thank you. So I'm going to request Shri Upendra Tripathi, Director General, International Solar Alliance, to kindly render his special address on the occasion. Sir, please.
Thank you, the Chair. Your Excellencies, I'm sorry to have buzzed in, but I've been watching the organization doing better and better over the last 7 years. And from the International Solar Alliance side, we are so pleased to be partner of yours. As you know, the International Solar Alliance, with its target of mobilizing more than $1,000 billion of investment by 2030, we need all your help, including Climate Parliament, who are our partners, to mobilize legislative support for this solar journey. But two things I would like to highlight today, and we need your support in the interest of the globe and in the interest of all citizens of the world. One is, of course, the idea that the Prime Minister of India has launched the One Sun, One World, One Grid. And of course, the utilities and the technologies, the smart technologies, the smart grid, they are going to be pillars of this new idea of having the entire world over one grid. And as I keep on repeating, the One Sun, One World, One Grid is not going to be a necklace around the world, nor it is going to be an international deadline in a zigzag way. It has to be a mix of both. But the essence of this One Sun, One World, One Grid is to use the sun itself, time itself as a battery. And when you use time as a battery, dividing the 360-degree of the Earth into zones of 15 degrees, and then you link the points of consumption and distribution and generation globally, and you optimize distribution with green grids all around, like the India's Green Energy Corridor. This is going to be a new concept. Essentially, we are trying to have the world as a base where actually integration becomes much easier, because the wider the base, the integration is easier. And to support this One Sun, One World, One Grid, I not only give the old example of the German company which tried to utilize the Sahara Desert and create a big power base, but even the one Australian company which is trying to bring solar energy from the deserts of Australia to Singapore and finds it still cheaper after 7,000 kilometers, 7,500 kilometers of transmission. And out of the 7,500 kilometers, 3,500 kilometers, I'm told, is going to be submarine. And India's project of 30,000 megawatt in the West Coast can be a powerful source for export of power. And these regional grids, which once were thought to be impossible, are in place. And smart grid technologies are playing an important role in terms of not only managerial mechanisms, but also in terms of technological feasibility. And when we talk about a technical project, not only the regulatory ecosystems have to change, not only we have to have more capacity building. And in this connection, in fact, I would acknowledge the powerful ideas Mr. Pillai has given us, because the One Sun, One World, One Grid, we have just given to the EDF, the French company, which is going to make the feasibility report. And so far as the World Solar Bank is concerned, to support these projects, we do need a dedicated financial mechanism to address the solar projects all over the world. Of course, when you say World Solar Bank, it can finance storage projects, it can finance battery projects, it can finance green hydrogen. We in ISA call them the solar derivatives. And in ISA, we talk about, from grid parity to kerosene parity to near zero cost. We think of a world where everyone has total energy security. And we keep in mind those 3 billion people today who have no access to clean drinking water. We keep in the mind the 2 billion women who have no clean cooking medium, and 700 million people who have no access to clean energy. And having said that, ISA is a powerful body which can actually bring in the best energy transition from making a world run with solar. And I'm so optimistic about sun. I agree with Tony Shaba when he says in 10 years down the line, the market will decide, and it will decide in favor of the sun. Thank you once again for having given me this opportunity. I'm very thankful to Dr. Pillai for having brought me in here, and the powerful assembly of speakers here today. The powerful institutions, ideas, and actors he brings together are going to do a great cause in the future, not only for ISA, but for everyone in the world. Thank you once again, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you for your time as well. I know that you have a immensely important meeting lined up. Thank you for sparing the time and talking to us on this very significant occasion. Let me now go on to Mr. Richard Schomburg, who is the IEC Ambassador and Chairman, IEC Smart Energy Systems Committee and Vice President of EDF. I'm going to request you, sir, to please render your special address.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your kind introduction. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Our collective challenge is still the long-term sustainability of food, water, and energy security. But of course, year after year, we can see that the energy demand is climbing while greenhouse gas emissions must still be curbed as the effects of climate change start to impact very visibly everyday life. And at the same time, the customers have growing expectations of resiliency, especially in these COVID time, lower cost and new services, but cybersecurity. And cybersecurity is really becoming an incredibly critical challenge for all of us. Now, the path forward, well, a strong smart metering infrastructure is definitely a foundation for the customer engagement, the flexibility, and an enabler of the full value for digitalization and decentralization. Of course, the technology is blazing forward, but the complexity is rising very steeply, and the success of the massive rollouts will critically depend on the system engineering skills and industrial strategy of highly seasoned players. Well, standardization is more than ever a master key to take up this challenge. IEC is committed to deliver an enabling portfolio of technical standards, as well as EDF Group, committed to contribute with select partners to sustainable development on all the dimensions. Well, the good news, India has major cards in hand. There are many areas in which India is moving forward towards a green transition that needs to be recognized and applauded. The progress on renewables, the budget announcement on hydrogen, net zero commitment by the railways, and the work on energy efficiency. And Prime Minister Modi announced an enhanced renewable energy capacity target of 450 gigawatt by 2030. In December at the Climate Ambition Summit, marking the 5th anniversary of the Paris Agreement, which is actually a step up from India's 2015 national determined contribution. The lesson for the entire world, it's really that COVID-19 recovery efforts must focus on building back better, and as UN Secretary General said, clean energy is the ticket to growth and prosperity. This gives a lot of relevance and value to this India Smart Utility Week. This is a signature event, which is all about utilities with a central theme, resilience, zero carbon energy, and utility transformation. Cheap, reliable energy and the digital revolution is driving the economic growth globally. For the digital revolution, India is already the software factory of the world. For energy, the ISGF has been tirelessly investigating and outreaching for years and is an extremely strong asset ready to support the smartest path to deployments. And ISGF is recognized worldwide, one of the first to join the World Global Smart Grid Federation. It's publishing very relevant newsletters of organizing events that are very effective connectors, like this India Smart Utility Week, building on the success of already 6 past events. Please share with me the excitement of this unique opportunity, albeit virtual, to discover what others are doing, to network, and to trigger collaboration opportunities. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, sir. That was also a very kind special address, and the fact that this event is a very effective connector for all stakeholders across the world in this domain. I'm going to now request at this juncture Mr. Ajay Kaul, who is the India State and Local Government Leader with Amazon Web Services, to kindly now address all of us. May I also mention here that this event, ISUW 2021, is powered by Amazon Web Services. Mr. Ajay Kaul.
Thank you very much. And once again, congratulations to ISGF for holding this quorum together. I think it's getting better every time. And so good to have so many dignitaries, so many subject matter experts talking on this very, very crucial subject. And like any other area, this utility has had its own share of changes. And with the whole dynamics around this, I think there are phenomenal transformations happening around, not only in the globe, but in the country as well. We have to talk about how is it, kind of impacting with regard to energy and water and gas. If you look at from an energy standpoint, I think energy industry is undergoing a major transformation and due to the changing overall utility value chain. New entrants like electric vehicles, increasing renewable share demand, the utilities to adapt to these changes is making people to be challenged on how they can manage things in a different way. We have heard about major car manufacturers talking about moving their entire lineup towards electric vehicles, in the next few years. Now, how will that change the whole dynamics around the way the energy is being generated or consumed is going to be seen. The 250 million plus smart meters, which is going to be a major rollout, is a good example of transformation that can come in power distribution, for instance, enhancing the operations of utilities and also the customer-focused services that are being rendered. At the same time, if we talk about water, I'm sure all of us would know that Government of India's Jal Jeevan Mission is a major program to assure availability of potable water to every household in the country. And this will again call for a humongous change in water utilities across the entire value chain, including technological interventions, monitoring of water distribution networks, measurement of water distribution flows, and so on and so forth. And it is going to be led by a humongous intervention of maybe IoT devices, a lot of artificial intelligence, machine learnings being adopted to be able to detect any leakages, and ensure that there are uninterrupted services being rendered to the length and breadth of the country. So this is also another area which is going to change the dynamics in a short while. And looking at the third area, which is on the natural gas front, I think Government of India is focused on increasing the share of natural gas, from the current 6% to almost like 15% in the next few years. And one of the actions to achieve this objective is to spread the gas distribution program big time. Around 90 plus geographical areas are already allotted for city gas distribution, and more are in the pipeline. Similar to electricity and water distribution, I think the gas utilities also focus on improving customer services through technology interventions in the area of gas distribution network operations, customer operations, and the overall management and the way billings are happening today. Now, all this put together, I think it's easier said than done, but this is going to put in front of us multiple dimensions, and these are mission critical utilities we are talking about, which is going to impact every citizen of the country. And if we have to kind of get a method to madness, there are, I think, 3 areas that I would want to share with this audience, and I'm quickly sharing my screen so that we are able to get a sense of what is going to be a summation of all that I've spoken so far. I'm hoping that you're able to see my screen, and this is a culmination of 3 key areas that we're going to be seeing as we progress in the next decade of the changes impacting us. These are going to be disruptive trends, and which are going to be hovering around the consumer, the customer that each of these utilities is going to be focused around. And within that, if we start with the digitalization, I mean, this is going to be a very, very key area. All of us talked about, digitalization impacting various industries at various levels, and so is true in this space as well. And all of us know that we are in a phase, we are in an era where sensors are overtaking, this domain by storm. Whether it is around the checking of temperature or humidity or wind, there's a huge quantum of data that's getting collected. But at the same time, the biggest challenge that we have seen is that this data, which gets accumulated over a period of time across the length and breadth of different geographical areas, just about 2 to 3% of this data gets actually utilized for any kind of an analysis, for any kind of smartness that we actually get these interventions desired for. So I think there's a huge possibility of making sense out of this data that we get collected, which is definitely going to help us in terms of create a real-time scenarios, for a lot of automation to be brought in. We're talking about predictive maintenances, and all of us know it's not a hidden secret anymore that the overall infra in most of these utilities is growing old with the kind of changes that technology is bringing today. So this data is going to be humongously helping us, the organizations, to be able to take care of faults before they actually occur, right? So we are going to be in that era very, very soon. And the good news is that there are interventions happening in that space as we speak. The second area is decentralization. Now, decentralization, we all know that I'm not talking of one grid, one nation, standpoint here. That's going to be a different ball game. I'm talking of the way the overall consumption is being seen by a consumer. So everybody wants to be close to the consumer, right? And provide the best of services. And a lot of these, innovation is being driven by consumers today. So to speak, that we are seeing a reverse trend impacting us. Consumers are no more just consumers. They are turning into, prosumers, where we've seen people who have installed rooftop solars are actually generating, power today, right? And how can that be leveraged and put back in the system to the grids where, on one hand, so far, our thought process was, how do we generate more and more power? How do we transmit more and more power? I think the trend is soon going to change, which is in terms of, is there really a need of generating more power? Or is there a need for getting to be able to manage the power that is getting generated from these prosumers, right? And which will help us to also substantiate the challenges that we had in terms of looking at building, the sources of generating more and more power. I think from that standpoint, it's going to be a worth a area to be looked upon in terms of how this whole ecosystem comes together. And this is going to impact, be it power, be it water, and many other sources where this trend is going to be seen and felt. The third area, decarbonization. I think the about two areas, are definitely the key when it comes to providing more energy efficiency in itself. But when you're looking at decarbonization, I think that is going to create a formal, more effective way of looking at creating a lot more efficiency and look at a lot more renewable energy sources. And I think, all the governments worldwide, India is no different, is looking at curtailing down when it comes to the consumption of either the coal or the oil-based energy initiation. And that is an area that's going to be also looked at. How do we generate and propel more of renewable sources of energy? I think all that, we've said so far is boiling down to these 3 Ds. And if there is a humongous progress that we have to see, I think within the framework of these 3 Ds, I think it will bring in a lot more, progress to the way this whole industry runs, and not to leave the fact that eventually it is the consumer, it is going to be the customer who's going to be challenging us from the industry standpoint, from the people like us who make those IT interventions possible, to be able to push us to make these changes a lot more visible to them, and in a way also provide capabilities that we have never seen before in this space. So with that, I'm sure with all the subject matter experts that we have in the forum, there is going to be a culmination of a lot of ideas, and we'll be more than happy to see how do we kind of support this cause, because this is going to be something which is going to be very, very important for all of us to get together. It is not a area that can be fought alone. So it is the entire ecosystem that has to come together and put the best practice in place. So with that, once again, thank you for putting all this quorum together. Wonderful to be here as always, and thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for supporting this event, Amazon Web Services, and thank you, Shri Kaul, for that wonderful address. The entire ecosystem has to be together, and that's why synergy is a very, very important word right now. Ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, let me now bring to you the Managing Director of Hitachi ABB Power Grids India and South Asia, Shri N. Venu, and he's going to be addressing all of us now. Let's welcome him. Shri Venu.
Thank you. So good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, as it is a virtual, so wherever you are. So a warm welcome and greetings from all of us from Hitachi ABB Power Grids. As Rajiv was talking about his inaugural session, I think we are the one of the few continue to be partner of ISGF since its inception, and really happy to see ISGF growing strength to strength every year. And even though it's a virtual this year, and I really see remarkable progress Regis and team has put together to bring all the dignitaries around the world, and we are able to connect and discuss the growing importance of electricity. And let me just give you my perspective on the carbon neutral future. In our view, carbon neutral future is electric, and electricity shall be the backbone of entire energy system. Let me just share my slides. Hope you are able to see. In 20 years from now, and we will be adding more than 2.5 billion people on this planet. So together, we will be living longer, eating more, producing more, traveling more, and demanding more than the double the energy that is needed today. And all these things should not come at the cost of our planet. How do we ensure that this growth is
Apologies, Shri Venu. Sorry to interrupt. We cannot, we're unable to see your slides. Are you sharing your screen with us, sir?
Yes, you're not to see. Sorry.
It's not visible yet. If you can just try share screen.
Okay, I'm doing that. Do you see now?
Yes, sir. Yeah, your screen is visible now. Thank you so much. Please go on, sir.
Okay. Let me just put in the slide. Sure. Yeah. I think what I was telling you that all this growth, should come in a more sustainable way in ensuring that our planet is secure, not only for the generations, but the generations to come in that. The good part is that all of us today realize that over the coming year, the energy sector could be a major driving force for economic growth. If you have seen some of the report recently released by International Energy Agency, that the energy demand is going to be, by 2040 is going to be, more than tripled in India. And there is another report saying that, to take care of these kind of challenges, this kind of, growth, especially on the renewable, and India needs to add, in addition to the existing power system, the power system of a size of Europe in the next 20 years. So that is a kind of growth we are talking about. Okay, and the increase, as we talked about, should not come at the cost of the planet and the most vulnerable sections of the society. We continue to deliver the quality power for all, irrespective of wherever they are located in that. And at the same time, we need to achieve a circular economy that can help us limit global warming to 1.5 degrees centigrade. So the building blocks for these things is basically that number one is accelerated shift from fossil-based to renewable-based power generation. And we have a very strict target from this government of India, 450 gigawatt of additional renewable by 2030. And the second one is growing electrification of transportation, industry, and building sectors. As Rajiv was talking about, they have taken, ISGF has taken initiative in addition to the electrical vehicles, but also the heating of the or cooking through the electricity in that. But we see more and more the electrification, whether it is electrical vehicle, industries, and also the building sector contribute too much of growing electrification of that. And the third one, which is also very important, sustainable energy carriers complementary to direct electrification, such as green hydrogen. Our efforts in that direction, the unprecedented 2020 pandemic and economic crisis have given India, just as other nations and governments, the impetus to accelerate investments and action plans to deliver energy transition with a clean energy. Besides ramping up renewable penetration, strengthening regional grids will equally be crucial in sustaining the growth. We will need to leverage connections of all possible nearby and distant variable renewable energy sources, locations to load center regions, and build powerful cross-regional grid interconnections, including electrical or hydrogen or other green chemicals as may be. The road to decarbonization everywhere is built on much more electrification. We have seen the report of IEA, and also globally, the electrification is going to be doubled globally by 2050, and India, it is 2040 is almost triple. And that's the kind of projections coming in that. And electrical interconnection is fundamental for local, regional, and global energy exchange, enable a carbon neutral energy system. To ensure power for all, we need to build capacity, flexibility, resilience in our entire power ecosystem, integrating increasing amount of intermittent renewables and distributed energy and address new supply and demand challenges. For the grid to seamlessly function, despite the rapid addition of intermittent supply and demand center like renewables, electrical vehicles, cooling, etc., it needs to be more flexible, and power quality solutions will be critical contributor to an electric future with solutions from facts to transformers with the transient voltage protection, just to give examples on that. We all know what happened a couple of weeks back in Texas. Millions without power in freezing weather, home heating systems shutting down, hospitals facing water shortages, and oil refineries going offline. The event has exposed how quickly an energy system can be brought down and how widespread the chaos can be if the right infrastructure is not in place. It also raises questions about the vulnerability of our own power grid, just as more parts of everyday of our life. So elements of the evolving grid, then we also must consider cybersecurity pitfalls that come with getting more interconnected digitally and geographically. We must be aware that the first recorded cyber attack on a power grid in Ukraine in 2015, when information systems of energy distribution companies and electricity supply to consumers were temporarily disrupted. A lot has changed since then, with countries and companies being more cyber aware, and much more has to be done as we are going more and more in the digitalization of the entire power ecosystem. We must make the grid stronger and smarter. We must leverage all forms of technology, from the interconnections, connecting the nations, connecting the geographies, making them more and more regional connections, and backbone transmission of grid edge, from storage to power quality, with digitalization across the value chain and collaboration with all stakeholders. At the same time, we must adapt and adopt policies and regulations that enable the deployment of technology and facilitate innovation and new business model to support secure, sustainable, and scalable energy infrastructure. We believe in simplifying the energy production, transmission, and distribution process by delivering detailed asset performance for real-time insights. By our coupling of big data and artificial intelligence capabilities with OT and IT solutions, our intelligent solutions forecast the likelihood of potential failures and indicate corrective maintenance activities to mitigate risk, inform network managers about the short-term loading levels on stressed power assets, automatically recommend ways to reconfigure the network to fix the situation and ensure uninterrupted energy delivery to the grid's users. This is how we deliver on our promise of digitalization solutions that make a difference on a daily basis at social, environmental, and economic fronts. We are Hitachi ABB Power Grids, are a pioneering technology leader. We're number one in terms of portfolio, footprint, and install base, with centuries of innovation and broadest install base, spread over 90 countries, with 36,000 employees ranging from sales to field engineers, R&D scientists, and making innovation as we are making changes as we speak. Bringing together the world's leading energy and digital platform across utilities, industry, mobility, smart cities, and information technology. Our mission is to power good for a sustainable energy future with pioneering and digital technologies as a partner of choice for enabling stronger, smarter, and greener grid. At Hitachi ABB Power Grids, we strongly believe that the carbon neutral future is indeed electric, and electricity shall be the backbone of our entire energy system there. Through our digital and energy platforms, we offer intelligent, cyber-secure solutions for a sustainable energy future. So once again, thank you for giving me this opportunity, and really looking forward to the discussions in the next couple of days as we are in the midst of energy transition in that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shri Venu, for that wonderful address. You rightly put that electrical interconnection is fundamental for local, regional, and global energy exchange, which will enable a carbon neutral energy system. And that we can do through leveraging innovation. And when it comes to Hitachi ABB Power Grids, we all know that Hitachi ABB Power Grids is very well known for innovation. Thank you, sir, for a wonderful address on the occasion. I'm now going to move on to inviting, ladies and gentlemen, Shri Debushes U. Banerjee, the Managing Director of CESC Kolkata. Warm welcome, sir, and let's request him now to address all of us.
Yeah, a very good afternoon to all our esteemed participants. Well, there has been a big difference since we last deliberated on this forum. There have been unprecedented disruptions, we all know that. To begin with the pandemic, and obviously then our network being subject to climate disasters. And now our network is also prone to cyber attacks. So what we have realized is that while we faced all these disasters, it was from our point of view, we had basically learned that when we keep our systems ready, how we can actually pass over the system more crisis more successfully. So if you look at that kind of area, I would start with what had struck Calcutta on May 20th. It was a storm which was seen by the city after a century, over a century. That storm basically had a wind speed over 130 kilometers per hour, and it lasted for about 7 to 8 hours at about 70 to 80 kilometers per hour. Though a large of our system is underground, some portion of the low voltage network is overground at some areas. So what happened is there were thousands and thousands of trees which would have damaged, would have fallen down and broken and damaged a lot of our overground infrastructure like poles and cables. But we had an idea of this forthcoming disaster. So our disaster management cell had an advanced preparation in terms of first of all having conditioning monitoring done on a real-time basis. So we had not just responded to the situation just in a moment, but the preparations which we had done in terms of adopting technologies, basically in having sensors in all our network assets to ensure that our assets are in pink of health, and when such disaster strikes us, we are not caught unawares and we actually pass through the crisis. So that helped us a lot. The second thing is that we had decentralized our gangs all over the places, our operation maintenance gangs. The other part which we realized at that point of time, that this not only decentralization at our various switch yards, the transmission points, the distribution points, but on all our regional districts and all, we also realized that the digitalization which we had done at that point of time helped us a lot. In terms of digitalization, we mean obviously everybody has a SCADA. Other than the SCADA, we also have an HT command center and a low voltage command center, which is very unique. So what happens whenever the last mile, consumer service gets disrupted, we are able to, locate it faster. And obviously the gangs who are located just nearer to the spot, attend that place and do it fast. But the biggest challenge at that point of time was the pandemic, and it was the height of the pandemic. So there were lesser, manpower strength. So we gathered our manpower strength from all over the places, and our people actually did an Herculean job by working about 16 to 18 hours a day in the pandemic, and for let's say 6 days together, and we could restore supply within 7 days, which is one of its record compared to the other places where the storm would have stuck and people would have taken about 15 days, over 15 days to restore supply. So not only the planning or our materials, manpower and other resources, but even the configuration of the network being ring-main, it was very easy for us to actually isolate the affected areas and restore the power to the balanced consumers. So hence it was 7 days. So what we realized at that point of time, that this storm resilient network is one of the important things which we should take care of. So hence on the overhead part, we are working to how to make them a little more storm resilient in terms of having stronger poles, maybe AV cables, and conversion of some overhead system. So what we felt that yes, the storm struck us, but the entire technologies which we had adopted in the past, the technologies which I would like to read out to you, is that we have used technology as a the front runner for a meaningful adoption. In that I mean that we have not only been through the conventional SCADA system or the DSM, we had have actually implemented technology in terms of adopting augmented reality and virtual reality, creating digital twins, and by the help of this digital twin, what we could achieve is that we could remotely access the system and the relays which were operated under some abnormalities in the system, and we could find out what the problems were and reset the relay or system remotely from the mobile, and keeping safety consideration, we could switch on the RMU remotely. So these are things where we are talking about, leveraging technology in terms of not only delivering or enhancing the customer experience, but optimizing the operational efficiency and also optimizing cost through workforce automation and through digitalization. Because what happened when the pandemic happened, obviously the industrial and commercial revenue took a hit, uh, but what we found out that we could optimize our capex and opex to a point where the uninterrupted power supply was there, but still we did not overspend. And this was being done by use of data analytics of all the data that we have in the system and analyzing it to put up a cost capex, which is ROI, where the ROI is the maximum, and at the same time the consumer does not get impacted. That we have smart meters, we have AMRs where we can get meter reading during such kind of disasters. I mean to say the pandemic. A lot of us do have it, and we found out that this, when the cash offices were closed down, the digital channels helped us raise the online payment to a very high level, at about 65% approximately. But when we think that technology is only digital, well, let me tell you, because in our kind of business, we will have to be in the last mile on the field and work on the field to ensure supply and service to the consumer. So on such cases, the digitalization is not end to end. It is to the crew. It is still the crew automation to crew management, but finally everything is done on the field. So when we have seen such technologies, and obviously in cities, another problem which everybody faces is losses, the commercial losses. So here also we have implemented technologies like using special coaxial cables, special theft for pillars, and even smart meters to understand that on a mother-child concept where the actual theft lies and how we can control them. So such kind of leveraging of technology is what we feel will get us through in any unprecedented circumstances. We also thought that while we do it, we must look at the positive, creating a positive societal impact, something good for the environment and sustainability. And hence, we had tried to build up an ecosystem for promoting use of electric vehicle, to putting up electric vehicle charging stations, to working with the stakeholders. Even in terms of electric cooking, we had started working just before the pandemic to ensure that we work with municipal authorities to convert the roadside eateries into electric cooking, because we found out that it not only reduces the pollution in the city, but also keeps it more safe. When people have gas cylinders, we have seen that they at many times there is a probability of bursting of gas cylinders, and obviously use of coal for cooking is bad. So with such outreach programs to convert normal conventional cooking to electric cooking, because the efficiency is much higher than a normal cooking. So we have been doing all these kind of initiatives to ensure that we provide a good energy system to our consumers. Obviously, we have also installed distribution level battery storage in collaboration with Exide. And obviously, we are trying to work on blockchain. We are trying to work on other systems which are coming up new and new. But every time what we do, we find that we try to ensure that how it enhances the customer services. Like when the pandemic came in, obviously people were connecting to call centers, but when there were failure optical cables, we found out that how we could leverage the chat bot and the WhatsApp bot for the people to come online and being and getting delivered service at the comfort of their homes from their mobile phones, and working for a voice bot to finally see that the consumer gets the best service. So consumers are becoming more demanding. It is on us to, how to pamper them, how to give them the best services. So the entire philosophy has now not only come to making the grid smart. I think the grid is now becoming so much intelligent and so much of data coming up. We are only seeing the cyber security has become very important. So the cyber security in terms of user and network security or perimeter security is not good enough. But the recent instances of grid failure, there is a doubt that we need to configure our intrusion detection systems.
Apologies to intervene, sir. We're running behind schedule. May I request you to take a minute?
I'm over, and so laying a final, emphasis on not only making a smart grid resilient to climate changes, but also making it resilient to cyber attacks is very important. And as more and more data comes in, and more data comes in, we need to protect it so that we do not have blackout our system. Thank you very much. With this, I thank you and ISGF for providing a platform to discuss. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Mr. Banerjee. Leveraging technology will get us through unprecedented circumstances and keep us resilient. Thank you for sharing your unique experience with us. With that, I'd like to now request Shri Praveer Sinha, the Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director of Tata Power Company Limited, to kindly address all of us. Let's welcome him. Sinha.
Good morning, good afternoon to all the participants. First of all, thank you, Reggie, Reena, and ISGF for giving me the opportunity. Also, congratulations to you and the ISGF team for having the 7th edition of India's Smart Grid Week. I remember last year this was one of the last events that we had before the lockdown happened because of pandemic, and I'm sure hopefully next year we will get the opportunity to meet in person. This has been a great platform for last 7 years. I think ISGF has been talking about the smart grid technologies, getting on a common platform, all the specialists, all the experts, global technology players, institutions, policy makers to come on this platform and share their experience as to how smart grid technologies globally has changed the way the electricity can be produced and utilized. And this can be a great learning opportunity for all of us in this country as to how we can use this technology for improving the quality of service and the supply of energy to our consumers. Last many years, Government of India also came with a lot of policy initiatives and also provided a huge amount of funding under the various programs. Unfortunately, I would say that the impact of this has not been felt to a very large extent. Many places, the automation has not happened, the SCADA, the GIS has not happened, the distribution management system, and the benefits of distribution management system and the smart grid has not reached to many consumers and many utilities in this country. And I think that's an opportunity which we still have, that how do we take this and make this happen in all the utilities in the country. There is a huge gap, both in terms of I would say in terms of the capacity building and the usage of these technologies, and that's where I think steps have to be taken, not only by the technology providers, but also by the policy makers, regulators, and also people who have to implement these things in their utility. Recently, we have seen that Government of India again is coming with an amendment in the Electricity Act, and hopefully the aspect of delicensing the distribution business will give opportunity for many players, established players who can bring their use cases and their experience of implementing these technologies globally into the Indian utilities and running and operating them so that they become absolutely institutionalized as an arrangement. We have also seen that while there has been a lot of initiatives on renewables in the country, and in terms of capacity, huge capacity additions have happened in the last 5 to 6 years, the real benefit of decentralized energy has not happened. We have very small penetration of rooftop solar, unlike many other places globally. We have just about 6,000 megawatt of rooftop solar against a target of 40 gigawatt by 2022. And that's where a lot of opportunity is there, and how we can penetrate more of rooftop solar, because as soon as we have rooftop solar, you can imagine the type of complexity that will come in the grid, and that needs to be addressed. And that's where the grid has to be ready with and become a smart grid. The second area is again in terms of distributed energy, the opportunity of solar pumps has not happened. And again, as we see that more and more penetration of solar pumps and microgrids in villages happen, there will be a necessity for more and more of smart grid technologies to be used not only in urban areas but also in rural areas. One area that there is a lot of discussion that is happening is smart metering. While the benefit of smart metering are enormous, not only about the remote metering, reading and billing, but also in terms of how on real-time usage of energy can be monitored and measured. And I think that's the real benefit that will come. But all these have to come on a common platform and integrated, unlike many of the things where we are talking of standalone solutions. And I think as the discussion takes place, and in next 4 days, the experts and the technology players are there, they should take the opportunity of how this can be standardized and taken forward, so that the users of these, which is typically the utilities, are in a much better position to take it forward. So I feel that we are really, this is smart grid technology in our country is tip of the iceberg. There's a whole lot of things that can be done, whole lot of benefits that can happen. And I think the time has come, and it is right now, that all the players who are there, all the stakeholders who are there, they get together and try to find out new solutions and new way in which energy can be provided with penetration of EV and edge of the grid solutions and behind the meter solution. There is a great opportunity for all of us to participate in this transformation in the way electricity can be distributed. And I'm very excited about the whole amount of innovation and technology that is happening in this. So once again, I would like to thank ISGF and compliment Reggie and his team for organizing this and giving me the opportunity, and my best wishes for the successful interactions and discussions that will happen in next 4 days. And I'm sure at the end of it, we'll have huge amount of learning, and we can use many of these solutions going forward. So thank you, and thank you very much, and all the best.
Thank you very much, sir. Always a privilege to hear you, and thank you for taking the time out and joining us. I know you're also running a very busy schedule. Thank you once again. Ladies and gentlemen, now let me take the privilege of inviting the Chief Executive Officer of BSES Rajdhani Power Limited, Shri Amal Sinha. Let's welcome him with a big hand. Shri Sinha. I'd like to intervene at this juncture. I think His Excellency Ugo Astuto is also running behind a very important schedule of his, and that's why, Shri Sinha, if I can take your permission and allow him to speak first, is that all right?
Sure.
Thank you very much, sir. So I'm going to, ladies and gentlemen, bring forth His Excellency European Union Ambassador to India, Mr. Ugo Astuto. Warm welcome, sir. All yours.
Thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. That's very kind. Sorry to jump the queue. And thank you very much for having me at this India Smart Utility Week. We all remember we were together last year. This was one of the last events before the lockdown for COVID, and now almost 1 year to the day later, we are still fighting the pandemic. But we are also starting to focus on how to recover, how to address the fallout of COVID-19. We all know that in the coming years, in the coming couple of years, government will spend very significant amounts of funding to address the fallout, the economic fallout of COVID. Now, it's essential that we use this investment to build back better, as the UN Secretary General said recently. We need to shape our economies in a fashion, in a way which is fit for the 21st century. They need to be green, digital, and resilient. The policies that we are going to put in place now will make a difference for the life of future generations. Now, in Europe, you may all be familiar with the European Green Deal. Together with the digital transformation agenda, the European Green Deal is at the core of our recovery package in the European Union. It's a growth model which wants to be more sustainable, more inclusive, and to make the economy more resilient. The objective is to have Europe as a first climate neutral continent by 2050. Now, with the Green Recovery Plan, the European Union has put green growth, including energy, obviously, and climate action at the center of its internal, of its domestic policies, but also of its external projection. But I think it's clear that if you want to succeed in our ambition, in our global endeavor to fight climate change, we need to work together. The international community needs to come together, and India has a key role to play. That's why the European Union and India have started already from a few years to strengthen our energy and climate partnership. We have been focusing on energy efficiency, on renewable energy, on smart grids, and how best to achieve the objectives of the Paris Agreement. We both have, the EU and India, very ambitious targets for energy efficiency and for increasing the share of renewable energy in our energy mix, to ensure access to clean, reliable energy. Smart grids and power market designs are a crucial part of this cooperation. It's indispensable that we have smart and efficient networks to be able to optimally use the installed capacity of renewable energy. And in this context, the EU-India cooperation is focusing on the exchange of knowledge, expertise, and technology through demonstration projects, workshops, and studies on how best to replicate the successful projects that we have put in place. At this India Smart Utility Week, we will organize the 10th edition of the EU-India Smart Grid Workshop. We will focus on a number of interesting topics such as competition and market design for the power sector, our EU-India high-level platform on smart grids, and EU-India energy cooperation projects, including the new projects on integrated local energy systems that will start this year. And we are also having a virtual EU zone with a new booth and booths for EU member states to showcase EU-India projects and also EU associations. Now, in this crucial year for the planet, with COP15 and COP26 now imminent, the clean energy transition will be at the top of the agenda to face the existential challenges of climate change and biodiversity loss. I definitely hope that next year we'll be able to be together again in person. And let me wish you a very fruitful week of deliberations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thank you for that wonderful and very crisp special address. Thank you for that wonderful message from you. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, now I'm going to request Shri Amal Sinha, the Chief Executive Officer of BSES Rajdhani Power Limited. Welcome, sir, and thank you for allowing His Excellency to speak before you. Let's welcome him. Shri Sinha.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to be a part of this partnership and function at the ISUF. I am really pleased to be an active partner utility of India's Smart Utility 2020, the international conference and exhibition of a smart energy and smart mobility for smart cities. I am pleased to see that ISUW is organized on digital platform for the first time, and this also is reflective of innovation and resilience during testing times of COVID-19 pandemic. The conference agenda reflects the contemporary challenges and opportunity the distribution utility are bestowed, with key focus on climate change. As India moves towards 450 gigawatt renewable energy in portfolio by 2030 and commitment towards its climate goals, it is being clearly recognized at the highest level in the government. Its importance and the role of distribution utility in decarbonization, RE integration, and fulfillment of consumers' rights pertaining to electricity usage and associated innovation. BSES Rajdhani Power Limited has been a pioneer in the field of innovation, and since its inception in the year 2002, continuously working on increasing its operational efficiency by way of drastic reduction in the AT&C losses to less than 8% from a high of 51% in 2002. This has been possible through multiple technological interventions and since as well as consumer focus service delivery. We have leveraged the technology for improving our operation efficiency as well as accelerating consumer service delivery. Over the years, ISUW has provided global platform for meeting of innovation and technology and India distribution utility, thereby making possible innovation based on continuous improvement among Indian distribution utilities. We are committed to powering Delhi and empowering over 10 million residents in our licensed area. For this, we have been exploring and deploying the latest and suitable technologies in our various areas of operations and partnering with domain experts to implement the solutions. BRPL is firmly committed to innovations and as embarked upon the digital transformation journey covering both operational technology as well as customer technology and experience. BRPL is with its agile recent changes being contemplated to the electricity distribution sectors and firmly believes that digital transformation of the DISCOM to a distributed energy operator is future of India utility. To that effect, our commitment of sustainable growth has seen us launch several pioneer programs like the BRPL Solar City Initiative, which has helped us to energize about 2,500 solar rooftop net metering connections and also launch India's first behavioral energy efficiency program covering 2 lakh consumers in South and West Delhi in partnering with Oracle Utilities. RE integration and greening of its portfolio, technology and analytic-based transformation and consumer awareness about energy efficiency, pollution and green energy have been the 3 main pillars for our digital transformation. BRPL has been embracing the latest and emerging technologies by partnering with global innovators in the areas of digital twin of low voltage network, artificial intelligence, enabled predictive and prescriptive analytic based asset management, behavioral energy efficiency program, utility-led DSM initiatives, automation in grid automation and operation, distributed energy resource management through rooftop solar, managed EV charging, energy storage, and automatic demand response as non-wired alternatives. We have taken a number of initiatives to help promote awareness about green energy through numerous CSR activities like Energy Wise, Energy Rise program with TERI, which has already sensitized 60,000 students on the subject in 200 government schools. BRPL CSR programs maintain a symbiotic relationship with the community. They continue to reach out to the underprivileged. In the last few years, the program has positively impacted the lives of over 6 lakh beneficiaries. Given this background, I think we had the pandemic and we have done a lot of efforts as a distribution utility to face the day-to-day challenges as we progress forward. And it has been a kind of a very, very unique experience for us as a distribution utility. And the participation from the employees and other stakeholders has been also very recommending. So we are, as a distribution utility, going through a transition, and the sector is also going through a transition with new and newer challenges coming day to day in our business portfolio. And I really congratulate the ISUW for its continuous innovation and the current edition of ISU 2021 on virtual platform. We have various sectoral experts in this area where we are quite hopeful that in the days ahead, we will have a lot of new learnings and a lot of collective thought coming up, which will help the organization and which will help the sector in a very structured and in a very comforting way. Thank you so much.
Very much, Shri Sinha, for giving us a very important glimpse into some significant sustainable energy and sustainable growth programs to meet new challenges, keeping in line with India's commitment towards its climate goals. And with that, thank you once again, sir, for joining us at the inaugural session, Shri Amal Sinha. With that, ladies and gentlemen, now let me bring forth our next eminent speaker, the Chief Executive Officer of BSES Yamuna Power Limited, Shri P.R. Kumar. Let's welcome him. Welcome, sir. Sir, I would, Shri Kumar, we can't hear you. You have to unmute your camera, unmute your microphone, sir. On the screen, there is this red button.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending upon the time zone. And warm welcome to all my fellow colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I'm extremely pleased to be partner of ISGF for last so many years. And ISGF has been a guiding force for the country in terms of the bringing in new technology, awareness about the new technology in the country. But this time when I was logging for this event, I turned a little nostalgic. ISUW used to be a great event, which we used to eagerly await for months together. There used to be a big fair, big mela at General Manik's auditorium, and we used to get opportunity to meet many friends from India and abroad and exchange our views over a cup of coffee. Pandemic has denied us this opportunity this year. Hopefully next year, we will be meeting in person. Nonetheless, the spirit of ICUW is still alive and still alive with a greater force. ISUW always stood for and still stand for cutting edge smart technologies. Many of us in Indian utilities did not think in ordinary course. What ISUW made us to think. Just I was glancing at an agenda paper of about 4 years back, and I could found all relevant things like IoT, renewable integration, distribution automation, EV, cybersecurity, so on and so forth. And we find these to be more relevant today. Thanks Reggie and his team for bringing all these awareness among the distribution utilities in the country. Last 2 days, Indian newspaper is full with reports regarding impending threat in cyberspace and cybersecurity. A study by Recorded Future, world leading provider of enterprise intelligence, has found full coverage not only in Indian newspaper, but New York Times as well. The discussions and conclusion papers, recommendations of ISUW has found place in policy and regulation space. Economic Survey FY21 talks about high T&D losses in Indian utilities. Budget proposal also talks about various measures and investment for accelerating utility turnaround. In my view, in this journey of turnaround, technology and people using the technology will play a major role. Technology would prove to be a big differentiator between performing and so-called underperforming utilities. BSES Yamuna Power Limited has always been in the forefront of using cutting-edge and innovative technology. And by use of technology, BSES Yamuna Power Limited has done highest loss reduction in the country from a level of as high as 63% AT&C losses. BSES Yamuna Power Limited has reduced less losses to sub 8% last year. The reliability in our area was pathetic. It was about 70%. Now the BSES Yamuna Power Limited is supplying electricity to our consumers in excess of 99.9% reliability factor. Transformer failure in our area used to be about 15%. Now it is less than 1%. And this had all happened because of the use of cutting-edge technology and innovation. Therefore, adopting and imbibing technology is no more option, but must for the future utility. In this context, I am reminded by one of the suggestions coming in the interaction with Honorable Power Minister recently for setting up a center of excellence at MOP level to identify and disseminate relevant technologies for the utilities. And I personally feel that India Smart Grid Forum can play a very leading and very important role in establishing this center of excellence. In my view, the capacity building for the usage of technology is equally important. I'm sure the deliberation over next 4 days would be quite productive and shall lay a pathway for future utility where losses are minimized, assets' lives are optimized, reliabilities are improved in all kind of a situation, resilience, grids are resilient, inefficiencies are reduced, decarbonization of economy is accelerated, and cyber security threats are neutralized. My best wishes to ISUW, all speakers, all experts, participants, and once again, thanks for the opportunity. Thank you very much, Reddy and his team.
Thank you, Shri Kumar, for a very kind address, I have to say. The spirit of ISUW is still alive, and with a greater force, you said. I have to say thank you for being a part of that force, an integral part of. You're the force yourself, sir. Thank you so much for being with us. And with that, I'd like to now invite Ms. Gaudi Singh, the Deputy Director General of International Renewable Energy Agency. Warm welcome, ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me to the inaugural function of the India Smart Utility Week. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I want to take the discussion to somewhat a global level. And while we all did see a really challenging last year, but there was a major shift that happened last year, which I think is really remarkable because as countries and as countries started responding to the call for building back better, we saw countries representing a majority share of the global GDP announcing ambitious plans for energy transition. And I'll just, I mean, we did have the ambassador of EU to India who just spoke about the European plans. But I'll just give a few more examples just to put this in context. So you had Denmark, which is an oil and gas producer, as we all know, pledging to end gas and oil extraction by 2050. China aims to hit peak emission before 2030 and reach carbon neutrality by 2060. Japan hopes to reach to be carbon neutral by 2050. South Korea announced a new Green Deal of $60 billion US. And Germany has pledged to phase out coal by 2038 and has also put aside a funding of 50 billion euros to ensure a just transition, so this amount will really go to support operators, employees, and the regions as they move, as Germany moves into a more renewable energy powered energy system. So while we did see that the deployment initially was impacted, but the early figures that are coming in show us that the deployment continues to be very robust in renewable energy, and we will see that even in 2020 we will find that the deployment on the ground of renewable energy power plants has been quite momentous. However, if you're looking at the reduction of energy emissions to ensure temperature rise well below 2 degrees centigrade, then the analysis that Irina has done and the transforming energy scenario that we've come out with, which would ensure a reduction in the emissions by about 70% by 2050, and would also require investments, which are currently at around just about $1 billion in renewable energy every year. To get, they need to be trebled. Our analysis also shows that for every dollar that gets invested in the energy transition has the potential of a return of between $3 to $8. In addition, we also we will also see with the investments going in energy transition, it will create 22 million new jobs in the energy transition field. So I think as far as India is concerned, with the Prime Minister now announcing the targets of 450 gigawatts, which I think are really set a very exciting time for renewable energy in the country. We all understand that we will have to move into larger shares of variable renewable power, and mostly this would come from solar and wind. And in that scenario, smart grids become extremely critical. So right now in India, we have shared, the renewable energy has a share of about 10% in the total final energy consumption, which would definitely go up, because we have the Honorable Minister of Power who's been talking about moving more and more end users to electricity and electrifying the end users. So in that kind of a scenario, we will be looking at grids that are really strong and resilient to be able to take in the variable energy coming from renewable sources. And in this context, I think having this exchange at the India Smart Utility Week is extremely important. And I'd just like to end here by thanking the organizers for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Singh. That was a wonderful address. In fact, thank you for highlighting the immense potential in the energy space, which goes to project a very promising time moving forward. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, let me now go on to inviting the Chief Representative of NEDO India, Mr. Yoshiro Kaku, who's in our midst. A very warm welcome to you, Mr. Kaku. I'd request you to please address all of us at this juncture. So you're muted, I think. I'd request you to just hold on. Is your microphone unmuted? Sir, would you like to remove the earphones and then try? We're still unable to hear you somehow. Some kind of a technical glitch. Just give us a moment, sir. Shall we? Sir, I'm going to request you to please rejoin, Mr. Kaku. I'm going to request you to please rejoin, exit and rejoin. And till then, I'm going to invite the next speaker. May I request Mr. Rob Stephen, former President SIGRE, to please address all of us. Let's welcome Mr. Rob Stephen at this juncture. May I request you, Mr. Rob Stephen, to please unmute your mic and take us through your special address. There you are.
Thank you very much. I would just like to thank the organizers and the setting up of this amazing platform, which I think shows that the pandemic as we had has led to some innovations going forward. From the SIGRE point of view relating to smart grid, SIGRE has identified 10 focused areas relating to the future grid. And these are covered in many documents, as well as a green book, which has just been released on future grid. Of these 10 focus areas, most of them deal with future grid with smart grid technologies. And these are active distribution networks, massive exchange of information, integration of HVDC and power electronics, and then new systems for operation and control, concepts for protection and planning, as well as stakeholders, and increased use of existing infrastructure. So there's a number of things which actually need to be integrated when you start looking at the smart grid technologies. When you are looking really at the challenges relating to going to, and this has been mentioned a number of times, there's the lower carbon, the integration of renewables, increased customer participation, and then of course the progress in the technologies of ICT, end of life of our grid and grid renewal, and then methods to connect remote areas, of course, in market design and environmental compliance. When we looked at the grid models going forward, it was felt that there are two major models. So one is the bulk transmission, which will still continue to exist. And this has been shown relating to the work of Guideco from China, as well as one of the presentations which indicated hydrogen as well as electrical corridors to take the renewable generation from some of the areas that are blessed with the wind and solar, and to transport that energy into the load centers, albeit on different continents. So we'll also find then a large amount of small distribution networks, decentralized as well as integrated networks. So we'll have a mix of all of these. And the important thing in then is to ensure that with the smart grid technologies, we actually can operate and maintain these successfully. So as was mentioned before, the important thing here is to look at to set the rules. And one of the important things is we need open protocols, because if we are going to communicate across continents, the importance of standardization cannot be overemphasized. And we cannot have proprietary technology in one area and not in another area, so that we can't speak to each other. So you also then need large telecommunication systems, and bandwidth cannot be overemphasized. In fact, it's always underestimated. The other thing to look at then is your IT and your operational technology, which are now becoming merged, and how your strategy within the utility is going to deal with that, as well as the governance. Your data management is absolutely critical relating to big data, and this includes the ownership of the data, the maintenance of the data, storage where it is stored, and then of course backup, as well as analytics. And it's important to note that sometimes the big data can be more of a disruptor, in fact, into your organization than the small data, as you can get flooded with a large amount of data and not know what to do with it. So this has to be determined well up front. And then, of course, you need to establish your telecoms historian and protocols as your base. The other important thing is don't limit your definition of smart grid, because it actually encompasses everything from the generator through to beyond the meter, and including the customer household. The other thing is, of course, that whenever smart grid technologies are installed, they should not be done piecemeal. It should be part of an overall architecture which is agreed upfront. And this is covered a lot in the C-grade documents. So once you have the foundation base, it's then important to add to that foundation base rather than to start piecemeal when you really don't know where that data is going to go, where it's going to be stored, and on what base is it going to use and what protocols it's going to use. So really the thing is you need to be smart about smart. So you need to define your smart systems as wide as possible. You follow a well-founded incremental approach, and you need to be aware of proprietary designs and data ownership, and install as large bandwidth as possible. And I think the work done in India is one of the examples which can be followed and expanded on around the world. The other important thing, of course, is cybersecurity, and SIGRA has done a lot of work relating to cybersecurity. And so with that, I would just say thank you very much for this organization, and all the best for the next 4 days. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stephen. I have to say, for a very illuminating special address on this occasion. Thank you very much once again. Now, let me, ladies and gentlemen, try to bring back Mr. Yoshiro Kaku, Chief Representative. I am seeing that he's not joined us back. He's going to be taking a bit more of time. I'm going to request Mr. Kesek Sadamori, Energy Markets and Security Director with the International Energy Agency. Let's welcome Mr. Kesek Sadamori with a big round of applause. Sir, over to you.
Thank you. Good morning and good afternoon to all. And thanks to the ISGF for inviting the IEA to be part of this important event. I'm happy to join the excellent speakers today to highlight some of the IEA's work with India and the importance of digitalization and smart grids in the clean energy transitions. First, we are in the middle of a very significant period for the India-IEA relationship. At the start of this year, the IEA and the government of India agreed to enter into a strategic partnership to deepen our substantive cooperation and institutional relations. This marks a major step for the IEA towards becoming a truly global energy organization. The increased substantive collaboration under the strategic partnership will extend to our partnership with ISGF and other key stakeholders across the Indian energy landscape. We look forward to accelerating our work with all of you to support India in its efforts to provide a secure and sustainable energy future for all. Last month, we released a flagship report on India's energy outlook, which explores the opportunities and challenges ahead for India. It finds that India has seen extraordinary successes in its recent energy development, but many challenges remain, and the COVID-19 pandemic has been a major disruption. In recent years, India has brought electricity connections to hundreds of millions of its citizens, promoted the adoption of highly efficient LED lighting, and prompted a massive expansion in renewable energy sources. Looking forward, the Indian electricity sector is on the cusp of a solar-powered revolution. Solar power is set for explosive growth in India, matching coal's share in the Indian power generation mix within 2 decades in the stated policy scenario of the World Energy Outlook, or even sooner in the Sustainable Development scenario. Associated with the rise in solar is a sharp rise in electricity variability. And this puts a huge premium on robust grids and other sources of flexibility. With India expected to have a higher requirement for flexibility in its power systems than almost any other country in the world. A diverse range of flexibility options will be important, including the thermal and hydro capacity, interconnections, and demand-side responses. In our outlook, India becomes a leading market for emerging technologies such as the battery storage. Digitalization will be key to unlock the benefits offered by new forms of flexibility and will be at the core of the power systems transformations. To take advantage of this opportunity, there is a need to revise and create new policies, ensure suitable regulatory environments, leverage investments, develop new markets and business models, build capacity and incentivize and enable actors along the whole value chain. At the IEA, we are very pleased to be working with governments and private sector actors all over the world to unlock best practice learning and develop actionable policy guidance on how to overcome these challenges and leverage opportunities. Under the Digital Demand-Driven Electricity Network Initiative, and thanks to the generous contributions from the government of Italy, we are conducting analysis and developing guidance focused at policies and measures that governments could take to encourage greater levels of investments and greater levels of deployment of smart technologies to everyone's benefit. This year, in particular, we will, in support of Italy's G20 presidency, focus on how national governments can support cities in becoming drivers and test beds in utilizing digitalization opportunities to accelerate progress towards the net zero emissions by 2050. So we would like to thank the Indian stakeholders who are already supporting us. There's excellent progress already ongoing in India, and India has much to offer the international community in terms of ambition levels, approaches, develop multilateral, multi-stakeholder collaboration platforms, leveraging bulk procurement, creating innovative programs and incentives, and not least the area of training and capacity building. So finally, I would like to invite you to come and join us in this global conversation on how smart technologies can really enhance clean energy transitions and achievement of the greater levels of energy efficiency and greater levels of the benefits of energy for all. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Sadamori-san. I have to say, like you said, substantive cooperation and interconnectedness is really the need of the hour for secure and sustainable energy future for India. And we thank you so much for those immense insights from you. Thank you once again for taking the time out and being here with us at the inaugural session. With that, I think Mr. Yoshiro Kaku is now back with us. So I'm going to welcome him yet again. He's the Chief Representative of NEDO India, the Chief Representative NEDO India, Mr. Yoshiro Kaku. I request you, sir, to kindly address us.
Thank you, Rina-san. Can you hear me? Sorry about that. I had some computer problem. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Rina-san, Rina-san, thank you for this opportunity to make an intervention at India Smart Utility Week. And I'd like to congratulate everyone involved in this wonderful event. I'm Yoshiro Kaku, Chief Representative, NEDO New Delhi Office. First, let me explain about NEDO. NEDO is an autonomous administrative agency under the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, METI, Government of Japan. The main objective of NEDO is to promote development and introduction of new technologies. Since establishment, NEDO has undertaken R&D, demonstration projects, and system improvement with the aim of enhancing Japan's technologies and addressing social issues in an integrated manner. NEDO New Delhi office has implemented various demonstration projects in the energy field in India, such as smart grid and smart meters, solar power generation with microgrid system, energy storage, green telecom towers, and green hospitals, and energy efficiency in large industrial sector, such as steel and cement. Last year in October, Japan's Prime Minister Suga declared Japan achieving carbon neutrality by 2050. It's a big game change in Japan, and the Japanese government made green growth strategy in December last year. As such, in Japan, the industry sector, academic sector, as well as government sector are eager to discuss how to achieve carbon neutrality now. NEDO is expected to play an important role to promote green innovation. Government of Japan has provided almost $20 billion fund for 10 years to NEDO in order to implement innovative R&Ds. Japan will contribute on greenization of the world as well as Japan by its technology. India has high potential of economic growth, as well as India is an important partner country for Japan. On the other hand, there will be more consumption of energy, and there will be issues related to energy security and environment. We must take this challenge as an opportunity to make energy transition towards a more sustainable growth. India has made strides in renewable deployment, such as solar power, but the renewable energy output has variation with time, so the introduction of infrastructure, such as smart grids and smart meters, and other digital technologies, which effectively control the demand and supply, very critical. I believe that this week's discussion is quite helpful for thinking about the future of utility industries. NEDO has been contributing to India in overcoming these challenges by introducing cutting-edge Japanese technologies in the form of NEDO Model Project. We have been collaborating with Regsan and ISGF on such projects for a long time. Also, NEDO is an ardent supporter to this event from the very beginning and have been supporting in various capacities. This year also, NEDO is joining ISUW as ISGF Innovation Awards partner. Later in the day, I will be participating in Roundtable 1, Interconnection of Regional Grids in Asia. I'm looking forward for informative and participative week ahead with lots of knowledge sharing and information exchange. I wish the event all success. Thank you once again for your taking time for attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yoshiro Kaku, for that wonderful address, very beneficial and insightful. And yes, you're right. NEDO has indeed been a very ardent supporter of ISUW for many, many years. Thank you very much once again for your wonderful address. Now, let me, ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, invite Mr. Nicholas Dunlop, the Secretary General of the Climate Parliament, and let's welcome him with a big hand. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. And let me start by congratulating Reggie Pillay and the team at ISGF for once again convening a fascinating conversation. It's not only fascinating, but it's extremely important. In fact, I would go so far as to say that whether we can build big, smart grids spanning whole continents in time is one of the key questions facing the human race at this moment. It's one of the keys to ensuring a safe future for humanity. I think you could even argue that it could even be the key, because in order to deal with the threat of climate change that faces all of us, we have to make the switch from fossil fuels to renewable energy extremely fast. And it's just very difficult to imagine how we can do that without sharing our renewable energy resources, linking up to the best locations for solar, wind, and hydropower all over the world. And that means really big, really smart grids. Just to underline the urgency, we've got the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change telling us that in order to have a 2/3 chance of keeping the planet's temperature rise below 1.5 degrees centigrade, we have to limit global emissions from the point when they issued their last report on this 3 years ago to 420 gigatons of carbon dioxide. Now, They also told us that we were emitting 42 gigatons of carbon dioxide a year, and that's roughly continued since then. So what that tells you is that we have about, at current emissions levels, about 7 years left before we have simply used up a safe global carbon budget for 1.5 degrees. And then on we go to 2 degrees, 3 degrees, who knows where, into a future that no human has ever seen before. So, you know, what do we do about that? We need to 70% of the global emissions of greenhouse gases come from fossil fuels. We have to make a rapid transition from fossil fuels to renewable energy. And the question then is, where's all that energy going to come from? So India is leading the way. First of all, the Green Energy Corridors Initiative is something that should be replicated in all regions of the world. What India is doing with that program is linking the cities and industrial areas to the best locations for solar power, wind power, hydropower, and so on. And that's what should be happening in every continent. We've got the Prime Minister's new initiative, for which he should be strongly congratulated, under the title One Sun, One World, One Grid, pointing out that we also, in addition to linking up within each region, we need to have interregional connections, such as, for example, between India and the Gulf. And by linking time zones east and west, we can extend the length of the solar days, so to speak, for everybody. And then, of course, we've got electric vehicles, and India has very ambitious targets for electrification of transport. And as the transport system, so to speak, moves onto the grid, and when the electric vehicles are parked and plugged in, as they are most of the time, in the case of most vehicles, they're going to play a key role in interacting with smart grids to help balance fluctuations in wind and sun. So the Climate Parliament and the International Solar Alliance have got together to launch a green grid initiative, inviting the member states of the International Solar Alliance to participate in getting this going at the COP26 UN Climate Summit in Glasgow in November. I know my friend Barry, who's coming up on the program in a moment, is going to say more about this, and perhaps Upendra Tripathi will too. But all I would say about it is that our aim is to generate greater political leadership, political will, involvement of heads of government, energy ministers, members of parliament around the world, in really pushing forward and accelerating the construction of this new grid infrastructure that we need for a world powered by the sun. And I think with that, my time is running out. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Dunlop. I have to say thank you for pointing out the fact that we have to make a rapid transition from fossil fuels to renewable energy, and the fact that you said India is leading the way with its initiatives, and that is why we need inter-regional connectedness. Thank you for highlighting on those aspects, and with that, thank you for that wonderful special address yet again. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it is now my privilege to invite a Member of Parliament, Brent North, Mr. Barry Gardiner, who's been listening to all the speakers patiently, and he happens to be the last speaker of the inaugural address before, of course, Ms. Reena Suri, who will be extending the word of thanks. I request you to please stay with us, and let me hand over to Mr. Barry Gardiner. Big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Sir.
Reggie, colleagues, it's so good to be with you again for this year's India Smart Grid Forum. I will be brief. There are two reasons for that. One is that we're slightly running over time, and the other is I'm not an engineer, I'm a politician. Now, last year, we met just as the shadow of COVID began to darken our lives. And within days, the whole world was plunged into lockdown. So many dreams have been diminished in the past 12 months. But today I want to share with you a dream that has only grown in support, grown in scale, and grown in importance. It's the vision of a global green grid. You see, COVID has been brutal, but it has taught us that it is possible for governments and societies to make transformative change much quicker than many of us would previously have believed possible. And it's also taught that transformative change is not only possible, but necessary. The damage that we're inflicting on the natural world comes back to hurt us. The pollution of our atmosphere from fossil fuels not only does damage to our climate and lead to global warming, it damages our children's lungs from smog and particulate matter. Now, during the conference in Delhi last year, I paid 2 important visits. The first was to number 7 Lok Kalyan Marg, where I met with a very old friend, your Honorable Prime Minister. And we talked about the way our world was changing and the new renewable energy that would be at the center of that change. And we talked about his One Sun, One World, One Grid initiative that was launched at the first assembly of the International Solar Alliance. And we talked about how to carry that vision forward to a practical success by a joint initiative at the UNFCCC COP26, which back then we still thought was to be held at the end of last year in Glasgow. The second important visit I made that day was to Block 14 on Lodi Road to meet with your Honourable Minister R.K. Singh. You know, for every visionary in this world, you need someone who has the drive, the sheer practical capacity to deliver that vision. Just look what R.K. Singh has done over the last 12 months. He started by putting stiffer penalties in place for distributors who failed to meet their renewable purchase obligations. He gave wind and solar projects grid priority and ran a series of successful solar auctions with record low bids. He has set India on a course not just to meet its Paris Agreement target for 40% of the power sector to be non-fossil fuel by 2030, but to achieve 60%. India has now one of the fastest rates of growth for renewables in the world, with a target of 450 gigawatts of renewable capacity by 2030. This year, we see a budget allocation of 3 lakh crore, that's 30 billion pounds, for the power sector, and reforms to strengthen the distribution sector and introduce competition. The minister has placed a renewed focus on green hydrogen, both as a fuel and as a storage medium, and designated 1,000 crores for the expansion of the Solar Energy Corporation of India. Now, the One Sun, One World, One Grid initiative will see 140 countries benefit from a globally interconnected electricity grid. It'll create jobs, attract investment, and provide all the important flexibility that the system needs. I'm looking forward to listening to the minister in a few minutes when he gives his inaugural address, but I want to share with you what I know about this, his own personal commitment to delivering on the Prime Minister's One Sun initiative. He presided over the call out that the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy issued for developing an implementation plan for the 3 phases of the grid last year, to connect the Indian grid with the Middle East, South Asia, Southeast Asia grids to share solar and other renewable energy sources, to connect the first phase nations with the African pool of renewable sources, and to progress to global interconnection. It's the minister who personally read, approved, and I'm told even edited the ISA invitation letter and the One Sun Charter that went out to the 89 member countries of the ISA. And his plan to anchor the Green Grid initiative around the One Sun Charter, signed by heads of state committing to pool knowledge and resources towards the realization of the interconnected grid. This is the plan for COP26, which of course will now take place in Glasgow this November, this year. Now, I understand that many countries have now replied to say that they wish to be part of the signing of the One Sun Charter at the COP. And I'm pleased to say that my own government in the UK, as president of the COP, quickly realized the importance of such a strategic vision. They've been preparing to make it a central outcome of the conference. They aim to accelerate regional delivery mechanisms, fuel investment on specific workable projects, and upscale developments that are already in the pipeline. and to ensure the cooperation on the technical expertise by establishing funding channels after the Glasgow conference. But make no mistake, this is from the very top India's vision, and India's pragmatic delivery, ensuring the world comes together in Glasgow to connect all our economies in a global green grid of renewable energy. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gardiner, for that compelling special address. You're absolutely true in saying that transformative change is the need of the hour to fulfill our dream of a global green grid. Thank you, sir, for inspiring us for the same. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I will now request Ms. Reena Suri, Executive Director, India Smart Grid Forum, to please extend the word of thanks and also lead us to witness the release of some very crucial white papers and reports. Ms. Reena Suri, let's welcome the lady with a big hand.
Thank you so much, Aishwarya. Thank you so much, Aishwarya. With that, it brings us to the end of the inaugural ceremony of IS India Smart Utility Week 2021. So before I extend my vote of thanks to our distinguished speakers for the inaugural ceremony, I would also like to have your presence for the release of some of the white papers and reports that we wish to witness today with this inaugural ceremony. We wish to release our white paper on new revenue opportunities for utilities. Please put your hands together for that. We have a special session tomorrow to discuss the new revenue opportunities for utilities that we wish to present. Please join us for that. Next is a white paper by India Smart Grid Forum on diesel generator replacement with lithium-ion batteries. Please put your hands together for the release of the design of robust time of use framework for electricity tariff in Gujarat. This is the first of its kind study that India Smart Grid Forum has undertaken with support from Shakti Sustainable Energy Foundation and inputs from Florence School of Regulation. The report is out and we are looking for inputs, and the final report will be released on our portal. We also wish to announce the release of A Billion Possibilities, the CX Revolution in Indian Utility Industry, a report by Smart Energy Water. We would also like to invite for an innovation announcement by Smart Energy Water. Smart Energy Water, a member of ISGF, delivers the best digital customer experience and workforce experience and is powered by AI, ML, and IoT analytics, and is nurturing an ecosystem that redefines how the world consumes its energy and water. They have come forward with an initiative to fund up to $1 million to 3 to 5 companies with innovative software solutions that are globally relevant and scalable. More details will be provided on the portal and will also be available with our partner, Smart Energy Water. Please put your hands together for SEW. With that, it brings me to deliver the vote of thanks, starting with our key dignitaries, our esteemed guests for today's session. I would like to start with thanking Mr. Richard Schomburg, Mr. Ajay Kaul, Mr. N. Venu, Mr. Debushes Banerjee, Mr. Amal Sinha, Mr. P.R. Kumar, Mr. Praveer Sinha, Mr. Yoshiro Kaku, Mr. Rob Stephenson, Mr. Keseku Sadamori, Ms. Gauri Singh, His Excellency Ugo Stuto, Mr. Nicholas Dunlop, Mr. Barry Gardiner, and Mr. Upendra Tripathi. Thank you so much for your support to this event and for your kind participation in the inauguration ceremony. We request you to please continue support our programs as well as India Smart Grid Forum initiatives. Thank you so much. And before we go, we also would like to thank our partners, our supporting partners for India Smart Utility Week. So I would start by thanking all our supporting ministries, Ministry of Power, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Niti Aayog, Ministry of Science and Technology, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Ministry of Jal Shakti, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Please put your hands together for the support extended by all the ministries to India Smart Utility Week and India Smart Grid Forum and our initiatives. We would like to extend a warm thank you to our partner, our powered by partner, Amazon Web Services. Thank you so much for your support and powering India Smart Utility Week 2021. Most important are host utilities and partner utilities, starting with BSES Rajdhani Power, BSES Yamuna Power Limited, Tata Power Delhi Distribution, Tata Power Mumbai, IGL Indraprastha Gas Limited for joining us as host utilities. Our co-host utilities, Bangalore Electricity Supply Company, CSC Limited, Calcutta. Put your hands together, please. We'd like to thank our partner utilities, Posoko Limited, Tripura State Electricity Corporation Limited, Noida Power Company Limited, Madhya Pradesh Vidyut Wij Company Limited. Thank you so much to all our partner utilities. Now, starting with our supporting partners who have been extending their support to India Smart Utility Week and making this event possible and successful. So thank you so much to our platinum partner, Hitachi ABB. India Smart Grid Innovation Partner, Innovation Awards Partner, and the Innovation Ceremony, which is scheduled starting at 2 p.m. on 5th of March. We would like to extend our thank you to NEDO for joining us as our awards partner. Big round of applause for NEDO. We'd like to thank our gold partner, Smart Energy Water. We'd like to thank our session partner, SAP India. We'd like to thank our silver partners, Nokia, G3PLC Alliance, Wyson Alliance, and Altec. Thank you so much for joining us this year again and being with us and supporting the event. Our technology partner, Fluent Grid. Our country partner, European Commission and EU-India Clean Energy, Clean and Climate Partnership. Our country partner, Sweden. A big thank you to Twin Sweden and Swedish Energy Agency. Big thank you to our bronze partners, UL Group, CMS Simplifying Life, Nest Information Technologies, HMS Connecting Devices. So please put your hands together for all our exhibition partners and join us for the exhibition inauguration. So please join us in the inauguration of the exhibition of India Smart Utility Week. This year we have the exhibition in a 3D mode and with a lot of features to connect with the exhibitors, interact with them, learn about the technologies they are bringing. Our exhibition partners of ISUW 2021. Please visit BSES Rajdhani Power Limited at their booth at India Smart Utility Week exhibition. BSES Yamuna Power Limited. It'll be a different experience meeting them virtually on this 3D platform. Please visit Tata Power Company Limited. Tata Power Delhi Distribution Limited. We have a booth for India Smart Grid Forum. You can join us to learn about the initiatives India Smart Grid Forum has undertaken to reform the power industry. Bangalore Electricity Supply Company Limited. You can visit the booth, meet the officials and talk to them about the different projects they have undertaken at BESCOM. Tripura State Electricity Corporation Limited. Madhya Pradesh Paschim Kshetra Vidyut Vitran Company Limited is one of all our host utilities and partners. Please join us in meeting them in exhibition in ISUW 2021. Please meet our powered by partner Amazon Web Services at their 3D exhibition booth and learn about the technologies they are bringing to showcase at ISUW 2021. SAP India Private Limited has an exhibition booth and they are waiting to meet you and hear from you and talk to you. Please join us in meeting them at the exhibition booth of SAP India Private Limited. Smart Energy Water. Fluent Grid. You can join the Fluent Grid and meet the officials there and learn about the projects they have undertaken for the different utilities in India. G3 PLC Alliance, looking forward to meet you at their booth. Wyson Alliance, please join them to meet them at the booth and learn about the technologies they're working on. Nokia is looking forward to meet you at their booth. Altec Inc. also has a booth and looking forward to meet you. HMS Industrial Networks India Private Limited and UL Electro Devices Private Limited has a 3D booth and waiting to meet you. Cuculus and Subhashiri, please meet them at their booth. SLS System Level Solutions has a 3D booth and keen to meet you and discuss with you. Waterfall Security Solutions are looking forward to meet you to talk about how to make stronger firewalls to make your system secure. ADD Group has an exhibition booth at ISUW. Envil Cables Private Limited. Yitran is looking forward to meet you. Tabreed India has joined us as an exhibition partner. And last but not the least, we have a big EU pavilion this year with a lot of exhibitors waiting to meet you and showcase their projects and technologies that they have implemented in different parts of Europe. So you can go to the exhibition booth and click on the EU zone to get into the EU zone pavilion, where we have multiple exhibitors joined us with showcasing the projects and technologies. We have Aware, Crossbow, Mr. Trinity and X-Flex, eBalance Plus and Renessa, eDream and Postian, Elan and Robinson. Clean Energy and Climate Partnership booth is also there, and you can meet the officials there. Flex and Confu and Synergy. iElectrics and Merlon projects sponsored by under Horizon 2020 by EU. They are showcasing the work done under the project. Interconnect. Integrid D, the project implemented under European Commission program. You can learn about the project and meet the implementing agencies and discuss more about the project. Muse Grids, Solar Power Europe. Indogrid Energy Forum has a booth and are keen to meet you and learn about the different projects implemented under the Indo-German Energy Forum. So these are our exhibitors, and thank you so much for being part of this inaugural ceremony. We have a number of important plenaries and workshops and roundtables and seminars lined up, and we look forward to your participation in the relevant topic of your interest in the coming days. So
Special thank to everybody, and look forward to seeing you all physically, or hosting you all physically next year in New Delhi. This will be 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11th of March in New Delhi. The main conference inauguration will be on 8th of March 2022. We hope God will save us from the pandemic, and the air travel, visa, all the situations will be back to normal. We'll be the pleasure of hosting you all in New Delhi once again in 2022. Thank you very much for joining, and look forward to your continued support and blessings.